We have big news. We have exciting news for you. Tell them what it is, Serena.
We are super excited to announce that we are starting our first membership this January 2024.
Yay! Membership.
So we're excited to let you know that we will be hosting a monthly membership where when you join, you will be
with us live in a Zoom room once a month for a workshop like we just hosted. It's going to be a workshop like that, one topic each month, a different topic. You might even help us come up with the following month's topic from inside our membership. Super excited to meet you. It was so fun meeting a few of you in our inaugural workshop. So we're really looking forward to that.
And when you are a member, you will also be receiving a monthly newsletter where I'm going to be a little more intimate and I'll be sharing the things that are working and the things that aren't working for me.
Yeah, like taking a tool that you've learned from the podcast and how you're implementing it and how well that worked, or maybe if it didn't work. And then Amma can put in my 2 bits worth. We'll see how that goes. But a membership newsletter and a membership live Zoom room workshop starting in January 2024. Can sign up through our Patreon link in the show notes, yeah?
Yes, everything will be in the show notes, and we can't wait to see you there, listeners.
We can't wait. Yay!
Hi, my name is Serena. I am a mother to a toddler and currently pregnant.
And hi, I'm Lisa, also known as the Singing Amma. Amma means grandmother in Icelandic. I am a mama and an Amma.
At the beginning of my first pregnancy, I felt like I was lacking my village, which is why we are here creating a village with you, in hopes that you won't feel as isolated as I did.
I also felt the lack of a village in my early parenting years way back when. And I come to our village with a background in early childhood education. I have been coaching parents along their parenting journeys and supporting them for over 35 years.
Amma, Lisa, and I invite you to grab your latte
or your tea
and come sit around the proverbial fire with us each week,
when we come together to have a conversation where we'll be talking all things parenting, keeping it real, keeping it raw, right here with you.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Serena.
Sharon is back in town.
We're so excited to have you back with us, Sharon, to talk more about all the wonderful things in midwifery that you have been practicing for 50 years, over the course of 50 years. And today, what's our topic? What are we going to talk about?
Today, we're going to talk about labor and how to cope with labor. Right. We've talked about what happens in the woman's body during labor and what happens with the baby. Now we're going to talk about how do we get through this? Mm-hmm. When we look down there and think this baby's big, how is it going to get out of here? How do we do that?
Exactly. Okay, this is a really, really important and juicy one.
Yes, and I will be going through this in 4 weeks. So
I'm so excited for you, Serena.
I'm more excited now that I have all your wisdom that you've been sharing with us. I'm very excited to give birth again.
Yay, that's actually a big change. Sharon, the conversations that Serena and I had prior to her meeting you was that she was feeling nervous. Yeah. Even though she's gone through labor and delivery once already. This is her second baby. And you were actually feeling a little more nervous than the first time.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. These past 2 conversations about what's happening to her body and to her baby's body have really, really helped you. Hey, Serena.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Feeling nervous with going into labor is totally normal. When someone comes to me and they have, no, I'm not nervous at all, then I worry about them. Because
that's good to know.
You have to be a little bit nervous to be motivated to find out what's going on in your body and how to cope with that. Yeah. So let's get started. Let me just mention that labor, we're going to talk about labor in 3 parts. The early part of labor is slower, more simple. The contractions are milder. And then you get into the middle part of labor, which is just endurance. It is contraction after contraction after contraction. And then the very last part of labor, which keep in mind is the shortest part of labor, is called transition. And those labors are intense. I call that part hang on for the ride. Okay, then we're going to push. So when we think of the beginning part of labor, and we talked about the uterus, the cervix is long and loose. And so when the uterus pulls up, the bottom part of it, the muscle up into itself, and it takes the cervix up, it doesn't take a lot of strength for that muscle to do that. So that happens with really mild contractions. It can take a long time.
So I just want to interject. In case we have listeners who are listening in for the first time and haven't listened to your first 2 segments, Sharon, can we just break it down a little tiny bit for new listeners? So that cervix is the part of our body that protrudes a little tiny bit into the vaginal, the upper part of the vagina. Yes.
The uterus is a very strong muscle. The top of the muscle does all the work, and the bottom is the cervix. It's like a balloon, and the bottom part is the cervix. When contractions occur, the top of the muscle contracts and pulls that bottom part up into itself so that the baby can now come out.
Right. So, and we encourage you listeners to go back and listen to Sharon's first 2 segments. We're running them all in a row,
Series.
In a series for the midwifery piece here. So do go back and listen because there's so much information. But thank you, Sharon, for clarifying.
So when we talk about labor, the word labor means work. You would not go out and chop a cord of wood if you had never chopped wood before, because you would be so sore afterwards. You would be exhausted.
That is
prep.
Awesome country girl. You would never hike a mountain either if you were a hiker without prep.
Exactly. So when we talk about going into labor or intense work that can last several days, often, we want to be prepared. You need to exercise to get your body strong. When you contract an arm muscle, it takes a lot of strength. If you did that for hours, you would want to be strong in order to do that. So you want to ask yourself when you're getting ready to go into labor, am I prepared? Have I eaten good food? Have I been walking every day? Am I exercising in some way, swimming, walking, dancing in your living room? It doesn't matter what you do, but you do want to get your endurance up. You want to get yourself strong and healthy. The beginning part of labor can go on for a long, long time. So during that period of time, and actually throughout labor, you want to ask yourself, when you feel like you're close to labor, you want to ask yourself constantly, am I hungry? Am I tired? Am I thirsty? And if you are, correct it. You do not want to go into labor tired, hungry, or thirsty. You want to make sure that you have exercised, you're eating well, your stress level is down, and you're keeping yourself maintained in fluid and food and rest.
I have a couple questions. Can you tell Serena and our listeners what you recommend as far as that exercise? That exercise piece sounded so important. And
it doesn't matter. You can dance, you can swim, you can walk, you can run, you can ride a bike.
Like a 20 minutes a day, an hour a day, like what? You know what I mean? Like some people.
You're building up endurance. So if you're walking 10 minutes a day, every day, you have to increase it or you will not build up your endurance.
Okay, perfect.
You can walk 10 minutes one day, but within a week or so, you better be walking 20 minutes. You know, you can walk
and 30
and you need to change your exercise as well. Walking every day isn't necessary. Walk one day, swim one day, dance one day. Have fun with it. Dance with your baby. Get into music. because we're going to talk about music in labor. Labor can be enhanced using soothing music to lower your stress level and to calm you. Okay. So in first part of labor, what's important is to conserve that energy. What happens usually when people start labor? They get all excited, run around, pull out their clock, get the paper out, start timing their contractions. When we start labor, go ahead and get excited and then come back to earth and ask yourself immediately, am I hungry, tired, or thirsty? Because here comes labor. And then deal with that. And then slow it down, take a walk, take a soak, have a shower, whatever. These are not contractions that you need to pay attention to. Paying attention to them too much, we get real consumed and we end up going to the hospital way too soon, if we are indeed going to the hospital. The middle part of labor is where we really need our labor coaches, which are now called doulas. Doula is an old Greek word, but for years we just called them labor coaches. And that is where we really need to focus on each and every contraction. So when we're in that part, we don't want to be distracted by loud noises, loud lights, people coming and going, whether you're in hospital or at home. So we want to keep it quiet, and the labor coach can help us do that. Labor coach can also help us breathe with each contraction. We'll talk about breathing in a minute. Then in the very last part of labor, what's very important to remember is that, number one, it is intense. Be ready for it. It's intense. Get yourself strong. Be ready for it. But it's also the shortest time of labor, very often not lasting more than an hour. Okay. Then at the end of transition, when the muscle of the cervix, the uterus, is out of the way of the baby so the baby can come down the birth canal, usually we get a little bit of a rest. One of the problems I've had working in hospitals is that the minute somebody's 10 centimeters, they're like, okay, push. Instead, I'd like to encourage you to listen to your body. Tune in. You got to rest. You're going to get a rest. The labor contractions after transition change. They lose that intensity. Whereas you're dealing with each contraction separately in labor, now during pushing, you are a participant in pushing the baby out, and it is different. People get afraid in transition. That's where most people get their drugs. They're like, oh, if it's going to get any stronger than this, I can't do it.
Yeah, that was me.
It doesn't get stronger than that. It doesn't get stronger than that. If you can hold on for the ride, you'll soon get to the other end and you'll have a bit of a rest. At that point, instead of the contractions coming every minute, they're now coming like every 5 minutes, and you will fall asleep. If your labor coach can help keep the environment quiet music, you will fall asleep in between those contractions often. And what that does is it gives your body renewed energy for pushing. Okay, so let's talk a minute about contractions. We know that contractions are when the uterus contracts to pull itself up out of the way of the baby. When you have a cramp in your leg, or when you contract a muscle in your arm, you hold it and you can feel it's not comfortable. Think about lifting weights. When you lift weights, you're contracting your arm muscles. It's not comfortable to lift weights after a while, but you can do it if you're prepared. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing that the uterus is doing. So what we want to do is realize that a contraction happens like a wave. The uterus starts to contract and it gets tighter, and then relaxes back down. So like a wave goes up to its highest peak, and then it breaks and it goes down. All contractions do that. They're not continuous. They go up in strength and down in strength. And nature is not cruel. Nature does not make every contraction intense. We get a mild contraction, a hard contraction. They alter, they vary so that your body can deal with it. I know that those of you who have been induced don't have that experience, because when you're induced, you get a hard contraction, hard contraction, hard contraction, hard contraction. Wow. But in nature, it is not like that. You can get a hard one, a mild one, another hard one, a mild one, and it will alternate.
That is so beautiful. I didn't know that before.
Well, it helps you be able to cope and catch up.
That's wonderful news.
So, am I hungry? Am I tired? Am I thirsty? Starts out your labor, but it carries all the way through. And that is the job of your labor coach, right? Resting periodically throughout your labor is totally fine. I have seen labors completely stop when women are too exhausted to go on. So what I'm saying is tune in to what your body is wanting to do and trust what your body is wanting to do, because usually it's right. So if you go to sleep during labor and your contractions stop for a half hour, it's okay. Nothing's wrong. As long as that baby's heartbeat is okay, you can do this for days. I mean, I hope nobody has to do it for days, but you can. Okay. So when we have gone through the hardest part, transition. Oh, let's go back just for a minute. Let's talk about riding that wave with our breath. Okay. When the contraction first comes, you can feel it. It's starting to get a little tight. When it starts to get tight, it's really important that you relax and accept it coming. And you do that by taking a big cleansing breath in your nose, blow out your mouth, and drop all your muscles. Let it go. Let it go. Drop your shoulder.
Again. Let's do one of those again together. Ready?
When the wave comes, what you do is you take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and you start to breathe. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Breathe as slow as you can. As the wave builds up, you will find your breath will come faster automatically, and it will sound like this. So what you're doing is you're building up with the contraction. When it reaches its peak, you breathe faster. As it goes down, you slow your breath down. Your coach can help you with this. Your coach can be looking at you in the eyes. Keep your eyes open. Breathe with your coach. And your coach can say, okay, slow it back down. Slow it back down. And you can come back down. And again, big breath when it's over, and relax all your muscles and rest, because there's another one coming.
Yeah, and then that rest is just a completely normal breathing pattern.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's no discomfort in between. Well, there's no discomfort in between contractions from the contractions. However, if you are one of those people who have backache during labor, which the majority of women do at some time during labor have backache, you will need your labor coach to help you by pushing on your back. There's a way to have your coach push on your back that's very, very helpful. What you're doing actually is, remember, we talked about the bones, and the bones become movable, and that baby's head is pushing against your back to come down as low as possible so it can come out. So if your partner can push on the back of your back and you tell them where to push, Serena, I can't verbally explain.
Would it be right above your buttocks?
The way that you do it when I teach it is that you put your hands on the lady's hip and you draw a V down towards the anus. You put the palm of your hand on either side of the V. So your fingers are actually crossing. And only with the palms of your hand do you push. And you push hard. And the lady will probably say, push harder. You're not going to hurt anything, and you're not going to hurt the baby, and you're going to make mama feel a whole lot better. One of the things that comes up over and over again is not eating food during labor. That's a fallacy. You cannot work that hard for days without having nutrition. You need food. For what the reason that rule has come up, it's an old rule. And if you're having your baby in the hospital, medical people are very afraid that if they give you an epidural or drugs, that you might aspirate food in your stomach. The chances of that happening are nil to none. Eat during labor to keep your strength. Serena, if you have to take in a little bag and hide it, that's fine. Okay.
Just for my experience, when in the beginning, I started feeling my contractions around 7 o'clock in the morning, and we got to the hospital around 11 because my water broke. But in that morning, I did not want to eat.
That's normal, but that could change.
Okay.
You said after you gave birth, you were ravishingly hungry.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
6 o'clock at night,
Right.
and I hadn't eaten anything all day.
Yeah. Let's talk about that just for a minute, how labor can start. It can start with contractions. It can start with your water breaking. Your water can break before you go into labor. Your water can break when you go into labor, during your labor, during pushing, or not at all. It doesn't matter. Again, when your water breaks, if you're at home and you're going into the hospital, there's no reason to rush into the hospital if contractions haven't started. What you just want to do is make sure that you keep yourself clean. You look at the water. If it's dark brown, you go. That indicates the baby's having a problem. But if it's clear, or even slightly tinged with a little bit of blood, you might have a drop or two of blood when you start labor. That's totally normal. That's totally normal.
So the water breaking is not an indication to rush to the hospital in itself?
Not necessarily, no.
No. Okay.
No. Okay. And
no, you want your contractions to be 3 to 5 minutes apart, depending on if it's your first baby or other babies. So first babies, they tell everybody to come in at 5 minutes apart. I tell my people, if it's your first baby, wait till they're 3 minutes apart. If it's your second or third baby, go in when they're 5 minutes apart, because you're going to move faster, right? Your muscle's already done the job. It's got a memory. It knows what to do. It's done it before. And it's not as tight, and it's going to open a lot easier usually.
Another question about the water breaking. You're not supposed to have a bath actually after the water breaks. Is that right?
Well, I'm putting myself on the line here, aren't I? I scrub the bathtub out with bleach, rinse it well. And nothing's going to there, baby. Right. But I don't know if I'd put that in the podcast, because every medical doctor would go,
But there are water baths, water births.
Exactly. Hello. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't believe it's scary to take a bath. I don't. As long as you make sure that your bathtub is cleaned out. Like I said, I wash it out with bleach, scrub it well, and then fill it up. And it's so soothing. So that really brings up the fact that bathing or showering during labor is so soothing. And there is no point in labor when you cannot shower or bathe. Okay. And if you are I don't really know who I'm addressing, if I'm addressing people that are going to the hospital or having their baby at home. But the wonderful thing about if you do go into the hospital, many times it's too loud, or it's too crowded, or it's too bright, or it's distracting. When you're in labor, you need to focus focus on each one of those contractions. You need to focus with your labor coach. You don't want distractions. If you are in a situation where you feel distracted, the hideout place in a hospital room is the bathroom, because it's the one place where nurses and doctors won't follow you. So if you need to shower or you need some quiet personal words with your labor coach or husband, you need to eat something, go into the bathroom. It's a safe place.
Yeah, I showered right before. My contractions were about 5 minutes apart or a little less. And then I said, let me take a shower so we can get ready. And right after I got out of the shower and I was in my closet getting dressed, I felt water going down my leg. And I was like, what's that? And I'm like, duh.
And I'm not surprised, because taking that shower probably relaxed you.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that made the baby move down a little bit more and the contractions get a little more strong.
Yeah.
Let's go back to talking just a little bit about pushing. Again, when you've gone through the last part of labor and your body is getting ready to push the baby down through the canal, your body oftentimes will give you a bit of a break and you'll have a little bit of a rest. That's normal. That's normal. My advice to laboring women is to wait in that period of rest until your body involuntarily shows you that it is going to push. Instead of being directed by people on the outside, listen to what your body is telling you, because when your body is ready to push, trust me, it will push. You have no say over it. It's going to push. That's when you get to join in on the party. You get behind the pushing and you will help your baby get through the canal. When you first start pushing, it's very uncomfortable. And the reason for that is because you've got the bones of the baby's head hitting upon the bones of your pelvis. Remember that the pelvis has give. As you continue to push, you will get like a natural anesthetic will happen, and that pain will go away. And all you will be able to do is be consumed with pushing. Okay. So remember then again, when we talked about the perineum, when we were talking about the baby coming out on the other podcast, was that you really need to give your body time and respect that it will push the baby down against that perineum in the proper way to stretch it. The perineum, or the bottom part of your vulva, your vagina, is forgiving skin. It will stretch if you give it enough time. When people get
episiotomies,
when the perineum isn't stretching enough, fast enough, oftentimes we end up with an episiotomy, which is a disastrous cut and totally unnecessary. A tear heals better, faster, with less discomfort than a cut. Keep that in mind. That's what I have seen people bring me birth plans that say, do not give me an episiotomy. I would rather tear. It's up to you.
And
is there a way to push? I recall very faintly, because it's decades ago, being told to push towards, like there was almost a intense, not quite a burning sensation, but I think that's where the perineum. Different. Oh, okay.
That's stretching. No, yeah. When a lot of people, I've heard people say, push like you're having a bowel movement. No, that's not the end. It's coming out. No, you push down and forward. Just push down and forward. Listen to your body. It will tell you how to push. Okay. When the head is hitting the perineum, this is what you're talking about, Lisa, you may feel a burning sensation. That sensation is created from the tissue stretching. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. That's a good thing. And if it's stretching and that burning sensation is real strong, just stop pushing. How do you stop pushing? Pant. It just takes the pressure off the push. It won't stop the push, but it takes the pressure off. Because remember, when you're pushing down, your diaphragm is pushing down on the top of that big muscle and helping that muscle push that baby down too. So you want to just ease that baby out. I often say to people, just breathe this baby out. Just breathe. Just pant and breathe. that baby is going to lift its head up through that perineum. That perineum is totally made by nature to stretch if you let it. So you don't want anyone yelling at you, push, 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 push. Ask for quietness in the room. Ask for the lights to be dimmed in the room. Remember what we talked about, what the baby goes through. So we're going to respect our body, listen to the push, and respect the baby and quiet things down. After the baby is born, you will still have contractions. This surprises women, but it goes on. Why? Because it has to push the placenta off the wall of the uterus. Okay. Once the placenta is out, the birth is complete. When you feel that stretching and that stinging on your perineum, put your hand down there and feel the baby's head. That's what's making your skin stretch. Feel the baby's head. When you do that, you will have an automatic mind-body connection to what you're doing and what is going on.
Mm-hmm. And I think you told me once that people have given birth in comas. So it kind of sounds crazy when you say your body will push, but you can
your
do it
body
in a
will
coma.
Get that baby out.
Yeah.
So the more you can relax, accept, and let labor happen, the easier, faster, and more comfortable you're going to be.
Tell us about music.
One other thing I really want to add. Yes, music helps lower your stress, keeps everything calm, and keeps people around you calm as well. One thing I really want to stress, we talked about eating in labor. Another thing that's vitally important, and tell your coaches this, and they will help you remind you. Every hour, get up and go to the bathroom and empty your bladder. Your bladder is capable of getting so full that it holds the head up. You don't want that. Empty your bladder every hour for two reasons. One, to empty your bladder. Two, to get you out of that bed if you're in a bed. Because the best thing you can do in labor, if you want it to go fast, is to be upright, walking, moving, rocking, get out of the bed.
Let gravity work, right?
Yes.
Let gravity work. Yeah. I think that people that have babies really should watch, either read A Child is Born, which is a book written by Lennart Nilsson. See the pictures, see the baby inside the bag of water. We didn't talk too much about the bag of water, but also there is, I can send this to you, Lisa, Conception to Birth on TED Talks. It's Alexander Tsiaras, and it's pretty cool. It's not what I would recommend to everybody because it's a posterior birth, and we've talked about babies coming down with head down. So it's a posterior birth where the baby's head is up. But nonetheless, you can see it go through the bones, and it's quite beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, we can include that in the show notes.
So when we talk about labor and all the things that we need in labor, now let's talk about birth plans.
Okay.
What do you want for your birth?
That'll be next week's episode. So, Serena, how was that for you?
It gets me more excited to give birth and to see if I can get over those waves, and learning the breathing techniques and panting too. That was really cool to learn. That can relieve some pressure if you start panting.
Do you have any questions about labor other than that?
Not that I can think of right now. Right now I'm just like, I want to be in labor right now.
So listen to this episode when you go into labor. That would maybe be a good idea.
Yes, that would be good. But no, I had my birth plan last time for my baby, and it all went out the window because I was just getting too excited about going through labor. So now that you're going to help us set up our birth plans, and just learning all of this gets me really excited. And
great.
Well, and coupled with having, when we talk about birth plans, we'll talk about labor coaching. It's really important to have an advocate with you in labor who knows what your needs are. And this is somebody who you sat down and gone over your birth plan with, so they know that when it gets too loud in the room, that they, the labor coach can say, shh. I don't know how many times I've said shh in labor, a million times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shh, shh, no, shh. That's another thing, when you're in labor, it's really important to actually, this is important. Are you still recording? One of the things that's really important in labor is that for your labor coach, and we'll talk about this when we talk about labor coaching, is that you cannot stop. You're concentrating so much on a contraction that you cannot stop in the middle to have a conversation with someone. So instead of, like, say your labor coaching coach looks at you and says, does this feel good on your back? Or is, you need to ask yes and no questions. Never mind. I'll go over that when we do the labor coach and birth plan. That's really important.
All right. Well, thank you, Sharon, so much. Thanks for getting me excited for giving labor. I never thought I'd say that.
Oh, you're going to have a wonderful birth.
All right. So I absolutely love Sharon. She has so much knowledge, and she's really gotten me excited for going into labor again, which is crazy. But this whole episode is a gem. But just to share the top things that stood out to me is, number one, preparing for labor is about building your endurance. So if you're walking, dancing, swimming, make sure you're building your endurance and doing it longer and longer each time, and stay consistent with that. Number two is, when you transition, there's a resting period, and you might think that it's going to get harder and harder, but it doesn't. And once you transition, it is very different, and you'll have time to rest in between. You don't have to push once you get to 10 centimeters. You can rest, and contractions will feel different. Your body kind of takes a back seat, and it does the work on its own. That's proven, because as we've heard, you can have a baby while you're in a coma. So that baby's going to get pushed out no matter what. So learn how to breathe and relax and let your body do what it's meant to do. And number three, what Sharon constantly repeats is hungry, thirsty, tired. You wouldn't want to climb a mountain being hungry, thirsty, or tired. So make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure you bring snacks if you're going into the hospital. And Sharon also suggests having a straw, so whoever is there to support you can just bring the water to you if you're sitting in bed, and you could just sip it from a straw. And make sure you get your rest. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed it. And again, this whole episode is a gem. So these are just my top 3 reminders.
Thanks for being here with us in our virtual village. We'd love you to join our Facebook group at The Village Parenting Community, and on Instagram at The Village Parenting Pod.
And if you enjoy our podcast, please like, subscribe, and share. Also, if you have a moment, please leave us a review. It makes a big difference for us in reaching more parents out there who may be feeling alone.
Please direct message us to connect also. We absolutely love hearing from you. And until next week, we'll be keeping it real and raw right here with you.
This podcast is sponsored by the Singing Alma's private parent coaching and workshop offerings, and also by Enlightened Designs for Crafty Mamas.